Welcome to the Mortgage Podcast, where we give tactics, strategies, and inspiration to get you to 10 plus loans per month. We talk a lot about how to make a ton of money in mortgage while also being happy and thriving in your personal life. If you want to be a mortgage millionaire, you're in the right place.
Hello, everyone. Todd Scrima here. Thanks for tuning in to the Mortgage Podcast. Today, we're talking about what the future holds for mortgage. Well, that is a big subject. Big subject. And I just want to brainstorm with you. This is more of a brainstorm. I don't think anyone can rub the crystal ball and know exactly what will happen. But what I've gotten used to is to study patterns and looking at other industries and seeing what they've gone through. So I did a podcast recently on the commoditization of the mortgage industry. So we're not the first industry to go through commoditization. It's happened to many industries. And what we've got to do is be one step ahead. So that's, if you were to take one thing from this segment, it's that you've got to be progressive, because those are the ones that make it. And I'll give you some ideas to think about. I don't think any of us can think about exactly what's going to go on with the mortgage business, but I think there are certain things that for sure will happen. And that's what I'm going to kind of talk about. So I think one is that you're going to find mortgage companies and loan officers that focus on adding more value are going to be the winners. You know, I'll give you a small example. So we started this thing where every time we pull a credit report for a borrower in my mortgage company, they get emailed a video and an online tutorial, like a whole system on wealth building. And basically what I did is I took about 10 hours of content because I've taught so many people about wealth building, and I recorded all that stuff, put it in an online platform, and then every time we run a credit report for someone, I give it to them for free. Okay. Like if I were to sell that product, I'd probably charge $1,000 for it. But so we tell them, hey, here's $1,000 worth of value. Okay. Here's someone that is wealthy teaching you about how to build wealth. And I've gotten a lot of great comments, and people say, oh my God, or they post it on social media and all that stuff. I just started doing that about 4 months ago. So that's an example. We've got to add more value to the consumer or to the referral source or both. So for sure, that is part of it. Now, how people do that can be all kinds of different ways. If you think about Rocket Mortgage, they are the best marketers in the mortgage industry. That's why they're the number one retailer. So they came up with this thing, said push button, get mortgage. So let me get this straight. If I'm a consumer, I could sit there in my pajamas and I could push button and I could get a mortgage. And I don't have to bring my wife to the big bad loan officer and talk about my divorce and how much my alimony is because it upsets her so much. And I actually never told her about that $2,000 collection back in college from my roommates that didn't pay the electricity bill. Like, I don't have to do any of that. It can save me pain and time. So I push the button and get a mortgage. Now, in reality, what happens when I push the button, because I've pushed it, is your phone rings and they call you. And if you don't answer, they call you and text you about 50 times over the course of a week. So that is an example of adding more value, or a mortgage company that's done it. I know they're an online lender, and for most of you listening, that doesn't apply. It's a different segment of the industry, but we can learn from that, okay? So I think that you will find that we will have to add more value to our consumers and to the people that refer us loans. For sure, that's going to happen, okay? So, and I don't think it's a little bit of value. I think it's a lot. And I think that if I don't see anyone working on this, which is why I'm passionate about it, because at the end of the day, a realtor wants to make more money. If you can show them how to make another 10 grand a month, you're going to own that realtor. Okay. So that's an example of what I'm talking about. I think niche marketing in private markets will be big. So I would tell you, in my retail mortgage company, we started doing a bunch of non-QM loans, second mortgages and foreign nationals and I-10 loans and DSCR loans and all these crazy products that are all part of private securitization. You're going to see that get more and more rampant. And there's lots of reasons for that. But one of them is the agencies don't want to do that product. When you see Fannie Mae, when they came out and said, hey, we're going to charge you 3 points to do an on-owner, 300 basis points. What they're literally telling you without outlining the program is they don't want it. And so private security brings all that in-house, and they do it for cheaper than Fannie Mae would have done. So that's an example. When you talk about niche products in privatization, crowdfunding, I think, will be a thing in the future. So you got whole companies that do crowdfunding to raise money to start a corporation. You could do crowdfunding in order to get a mortgage loan. So if you're ahead of that curve, you'll be able to take advantage of it. This is just one example, but let's say that I'm retired and Grandpa has 250 grand and he's willing to make 8% on his money because he wants a secure investment. He could crowdfund a mortgage and take his 250 grand and give it to a private party through a mortgage company, and he would back that mortgage. Doesn't need to go to Fannie or Freddie. It's just a private person. Some of that stuff is done now. You'll see it get hot and heavy as technology and AI and all this stuff increase. I think another thing for all of us is AI, and I think a lot of people are really scared of this. And the problem with being scared of something is you're not going to dive into it. And if you don't dive into some of that stuff, you're going to be left behind. So like I've got a project team as we speak that for the last couple months we're on this AI project. And really we're using AI in a lot of different ways in our company just to discover what it can and can't do. Okay. I can't really tell you I've got a home run story for you yet, but we just started a couple months ago. It may take us a year, right, to figure that out. But I think anytime you have a computer that learns about 10,000 times faster than a human, there's going to be some change. So what does that exactly look like? I don't know. I will tell you, I had this discussion with someone, and I'll tell you two things about AI just so you can start to think about it. There was a bunch of articles written. This is about 9 months ago. It was 28 cities, the article that I read, there's self-driving cars. And I'm sure it's more than that now, but that's what it was back at the time of this article. And there was one in San Francisco that ran into an ambulance, and it got a bunch of bad press. Like, this is not going to work. This is horrible. Well, here's what people don't realize. It was raining, and the self-driving car did run into an ambulance, but it was going like 10 miles an hour. No one got hurt. So in the moment when that AI made a mistake, literally a second later, it knew how to correct it. So maybe it said, hey, when it's raining and you hear an ambulance, slow down to 5 miles an hour instead of 10 miles an hour, right? Because you remember what happened in San Francisco. That car knowing that was one car, but instantaneously, all the other cars knew that. So all the other self-driving cars, because they're all linked together, found out how not to crash into ambulances. So that happened literally in seconds. And a lot of people can't wrap their head around that, okay? I'll give you another futuristic idea. And I have this discussion with some people. I said, hey, we're within 5 to 8 years of having home robots. They're in beta now. They are being developed now. Elon Musk is one of them. And that robot will do your dishes, will clean your house, will pick up the kids from school, will babysit the kids, will do the laundry, and cook your dinner, and mow the lawn. And when I've said that to people, they're like, really? I'm like, yeah. They said, why are you so confident? I said, number one, the technology almost exists today. Number two, can you imagine how many people would pay $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 for a home robot to do all those things? Not. It's like when cars first came out, and there was horse and buggies, and then 1 or 2 people in each town had a car, right? And now everyone has cars, right? Households have 2, 3, 4 cars. It's the same thing. Part of it's the allure. Oh, you've got a home robot named Sally, and Sally does all this stuff. Yeah, come over and look at her. It's so cool. She talks to you, and she knows how to calm me down, and she knows all this stuff about, emotional intelligence, and can teach the kids how to do their homework. It's unbelievable, okay? So it'll just be something else that catches on. And so because it's a big business and there's profit to be made there, for sure that's going to happen. If that robot came out for $40,000 today, you would have a backlog of sales of millions of people that want a home robot instantaneously. Okay. So I'm going off on a tangent, but my point is to get us to think differently about some of these things. So what will all that look like? Right. And so I think there are some confluences that are going to happen. I think that you'll see a movement away from the agencies in our business towards the private markets. And that was for lots of reasons, okay? And then I'm not saying the agencies are going away. I don't believe that. I believe that our business will become more efficient, and you don't necessarily need agencies to facilitate mortgage loans. So I think that's something to keep an eye on. I think niche marketing will be a part of that. And so if you look at all the niches that exist today, times that times 10, right? You'll get super niche. You'll have all kinds of niche products come out. I think the movement towards private securitization will continue. I think AI will have a major effect on our business over the course of time. Now, what do all these things mean? Does that mean to be scared of all this? I don't really mean it that way at all. I think it's a very exciting time. It's kind of like, when my father grew up, he sold encyclopedias for a couple of years. And people had to buy these big old encyclopedias costing hundreds of dollars in order to, educate themselves. Now you've got Wikipedia, which is a free website. You can look up almost anything. I use Wikipedia 2-3 times a week just because I'm curious about a company or a person or something, and I just find it very interesting. So you look at how that's changed, and you say, well, Todd, what happened? Well, if the encyclopedia companies would have kept, and maybe some of them did, kept up with technology, they would be able to capitalize on that. But if you stuck your head in the sand and say, no, we're making books and people have to buy the books, those people lost. The famous Netflix versus Blockbuster. The story is that I have read a couple times is that Netflix was in financial trouble. They tried to sell the Blockbuster twice, right? And there's part of the story where the owner of Netflix says, I was hoping and praying they'd just give us some, I don't know, it was a couple million or whatever it was, but he's like, I was just trying to scrap the company because I couldn't make it. Like, I just had trouble making payroll. And then, of course, the story's reverse. Blockbuster fell in the toilet because online streaming became, first it was the mailing the DVD, so I didn't have to go to the store. And then it was online streaming quickly followed. So you see what that did to Netflix is now, huge, one of the more profitable companies in America. And then you see what happened to Blockbuster where they had to shut down all the physical stores. So there are going to be changes, whether we like it or not. But it's all how you think about it. It's like you can think life is happening to me, which means I'm a victim, or life is happening for me, which is more of a growth-minded approach. If you have that growth-minded approach with all of these topics, and you probably do because you're listening to a podcast with a crazy person, then you're going to be ahead of that, right? And that's going to get you to delve further into all of these things. And you'll find out how to quickly take advantage of these things so that you can not only make more money, but have more fun doing it. And at the end of the day, that's what our whole career is about. So I hope that helps. I hope you pass this on to someone. It's just kind of a brainstorm. I can't tell you with conviction exactly what's going to happen, but I can tell you that the trends are obvious of what's happened in our business and other businesses. You're not going to stop progression. So we might as well embrace it and brainstorm with ourselves and understand it the best we can so that when things do turn, we start to see a change. We can be first to market or second to market instead of last to market because we don't want to be Blockbuster. I hope it helps. Have a beautiful month, guys. Bye-bye.